To discuss this, I'm joined by Seijiro Takayshita. He's a professor at the School of Management and Information at the University of Shizuoka. Thank you so much for joining us on this news hour.
Thank you for having me.
How likely is it that Japan and Russia could actually go to war over this issue?
I think the probability is pretty low because I think the Japanese authorities knew that this was coming. I mean, let's face it, it's their typical methodology. It's not only Russia, but also China as well, who are basically seeking the self-perpetuation of the single ruling state. What they do is firstly, break the promise and then make absurd accusation. And then thirdly, they rob away. So, it really shouldn't come as a surprise that they're doing this. And unfortunately, I think there might be a very small possibility of a military clash, but that would be the worst case scenario without a speck of doubt.
What's happening in these islands and what's been happening there for decades, is it also part of the reason why Japan does appear to be more on the side of the West and its Western allies in Russia's conflict with Ukraine?
It's very much to do with the fact that, Japan has to clarify their stance. They can't take the gray zone anymore. It's very clear that we're seeing, as you just reported, the invasion by the Russians in Ukraine and this fight over hegemony with China and the United States. Japan has to clarify its stance that it is one of the free world, alliance, and to put pressure to Russia to make sure that they would basically avoid further aggression of this very barbarous act that they're doing in Ukraine. So I think the Japanese, along with the 4 islands, which basically belongs to Japan, and in 1956, the Russian promised to give back at least 2, and they haven't done it. It's very important from the Japanese fishery rights as well because of the exclusive economic zone, which basically expands into the fishing rights by the Japanese.
And that's such an important issue here, this fishing right. Is there an immediate economic impact that we're seeing because of Russia suspending this deal that allows Japan to fish near the islands?
Well, the biggest worry is, of course, the safety of the fishermen in that area, because, again, the Russians often make these absurd accusations and take these, fishermen away. But, I think the Japanese should realize that we should cope with the shortages of octopus or mackerel or pollock, or even, shortage of gas to a certain degree. If you compare with what the Europeans, for example, our allies are going through right now to basically put further pressure to the Russians from the economic perspective.
And Prof, I'd just like to understand about the people who live in this area. 19,000 people, how does this all affect them?
Well, of course, they would like to take a very friendly methodology because they're facing the front. But it's about time that they should realize that there is no going back. Many Japanese, I'm sure with a lot of these people that's living, facing, Russia, believe that Russia would, give back the 4 islands to Japan if we keep a friendly face, in spite of the 2014 Crimean, invasion. And this time around, I'm very sure that they have a wake-up call. So again, they should realize that it's time for Japan to clarify their position and not stay in the gray zone, as they've done in the past many times.
Thank you so much for your analysis, Professor Seijiro Takayshita. Thank you so much.